Sales is not manipulation. It is not pressure, and it is not about convincing people to buy something they don't need. Sales in its purest form is about service. It is about transformation. It is about solving a problem that someone is desperately seeking a solution for. And when you believe in the value of your solution, when you believe in the power of your product, when you believe in the purpose behind what you do, then selling becomes not only natural, it becomes necessary. You stop looking at sales as something you have to do, and you begin to see it as something you get to do. You begin to understand that sales is the bridge between your voice and someone else's breakthrough. People don't buy information. They buy confidence. They buy certainty. They buy transformation. And transformation is communicated through conviction. Conviction is not volume. It's not hype. It's not pushiness. Conviction is the quiet fire of certainty that says, I know what I have works. When you speak from that place, people listen differently. They don't just hear your words, they feel your belief. And that belief is what moves them to action. Selling is not about getting someone to give you money. It's about getting them to see what's possible when they make a decision. Because every sale is a decision. Every transaction is a transformation waiting to happen. And your voice is the vehicle that carries that transformation into reality. So many people think they need more scripts. They think they need better funnels or more persuasive tactics. But what they really need is belief. Because when you believe deeply in what you offer, that belief will do more to convert than any perfect pitch ever could. People are drawn to belief. People buy energy. They buy certainty. They buy clarity. If you want to sell more, speak clearer. Speak simpler. Speak from a place of genuine care and deep understanding. Your voice must echo with empathy and authority at the same time. It must communicate that you know exactly where they are and exactly where they can be if they work with you. Selling is not just about asking for money. It's about exchanging value. Money is only one form of value. Time is value. Attention is value. Commitment is value. And your voice is what activates that exchange. The most successful people in business are not those who talk the most. They are those who communicate the most value in the fewest words. They understand how to speak directly to desire. They understand how to enter the conversation already happening in someone's mind and offer them the clarity they didn't even know they were looking for. When your voice reflects deep understanding, people feel seen. And when people feel seen, they trust. And when they trust, they buy the truth is people are already spending money. Every single day, they are spending on something. The question is, are they spending with you? If not, it's not because they don't have money. It's because they haven't heard a voice that made them believe in a better future. You don't need to become someone else to sell. You just need to become more of yourself, more of the version of you that is clear, committed, and courageous. You need to speak from your identity, not just your intellect, because people don't follow logic, they follow leaders. And leaders lead with voice, not just ideas. When you speak with alignment, authenticity, you move people. And movement is what creates sales. Sales is movement. Movement of belief, movement of behavior, movement of money. And money follows movement. So if you're not making sales, ask yourself, am I moving people with my voice? Am I sparking imagination, creating clarity, and eliminating doubt? Because when doubt decreases, decisions increase. And the fastest way to decrease doubt is to speak directly to the fear that is keeping your prospect stuck and offer them a path that feels safer than their current struggle. People don't want to be sold to, but they do want to be led. They want someone who can articulate their pain, connect with their struggle, and cast a vision of possibility. Your voice can do all three when you understand the psychology of selling. It's not about pressure. It's about positioning. It's about presenting your offer in a way that makes it feel like the obvious solution. When your voice communicates, that you understand their journey. They begin to trust your direction. Trust creates permission, and permission creates prosperity. You cannot sell from a place of insecurity. You cannot sell from a place of scarcity. You must sell from a place of abundance and alignment. Your voice must declare, "This will help you," and I know it. That confidence becomes contagious. Sales is spiritual. It is sacred. It is one human being helping another human being experience a better life. If your product or service does not make life better for someone, you shouldn't be selling it. But if it does, then you have a responsibility to speak with boldness. Silence does not serve the marketplace. Hesitation does not help the hurting. Your voice must rise above your fear. Your message must override your insecurity. Your belief must overpower your doubts. When that happens, selling becomes a sacred act. It becomes ministry. It becomes impact every time you sell with love, with clarity, with conviction. You are planting seeds of transformation in someone's life. You are not taking from them. You are unlocking something within them. You are helping them say yes to possibility, yes to purpose, yes to progress. And your voice is what makes that yes feel real. It's what gives them permission to believe. When your voice carries that kind of power, selling is no longer something you avoid. It becomes something you embrace, because you know that every offer you make is a doorway to destiny, not just a transaction. And that's how wealth is built. Not just through numbers, but through narratives. Not just through products, but through passion. Not just through price tags, but through purpose. Most people don't struggle with selling because they lack skill. They struggle because they lack certainty. They don't trust themselves. They don't fully own their value. And because of that, their voice lacks conviction. The buyer feels the hesitation, and that hesitation becomes resistance. But when you remove doubt from your voice, you remove doubt from the sale. When you speak with the confidence of someone who knows their worth, the price becomes secondary. What you believe about what you offer will always be more powerful than what you say about it. Belief leaks through your tone, your timing, your delivery. And when belief is high, conversions follow naturally. You must rehearse your voice not just for information, but for emotion. You must practice speaking in a way that connects, not just impresses. You must learn to hear what your customer is not saying and speak to that. Speak to the hidden fear. Speak to the quiet pain. Speak to the unspoken dream. When your voice finds those frequencies, sales happen without manipulation. They happen because people feel moved, and movement creates momentum.
It's not about volume, it's about vibration. It's about resonance. It's about soul. When your voice carries the frequency of certainty, it cuts through confusion. When it carries conviction, it pierces apathy. That's when people lean in. That's when they remember you. That's when they're ready to follow you. You don't need to be the loudest in the room. You need to be the clearest, because clarity is magnetic. People are drawn to clarity in a world drowning in noise. They don't want more information. They want transformation. And transformation doesn't come from facts. It comes from feeling. It comes from story. It comes from someone saying something that makes them stop, think, and feel seen. That's what your voice can do when it's connected to your purpose. But most people are afraid to speak boldly because they're afraid of judgment. They're afraid of not being accepted, not being good enough, not being understood. So they shrink, they settle. They say what's safe instead of what's true. And in doing so, they bury their brilliance. But you weren't born to whisper your way through life. You weren't created to play small with a voice that was designed to move mountains. You were given a message, and that message is not just for you. It's for someone else. Someone who needs to hear it to take the next step in their life. Someone who's waiting for your words to break their chains. That's why learning to speak with power isn't just a business skill. It's a spiritual responsibility. When you find your voice, you find your freedom, And when you use your voice, you help others find theirs. The truth is, you can't fake power. You can't fake presence. You can't fake the energy that comes from being fully aligned with your message. People feel it. They may not always understand it, but they feel it. And that feeling is what makes them trust you, buy from you, follow you, and remember you. It's what separates average communicators from transformational leaders. Your voice has the ability to shape culture, to build movements, to redefine industries. But you have to be willing to speak even when your voice shakes. You have to be willing to tell the truth, even if it's uncomfortable. Because wealth doesn't follow comfort. It follows courage. It follows clarity. It follows consistency. The more you speak from your authentic self, the more wealth you create, not just in your bank account, but in your brand, your business, and your belief. People don't pay the most qualified, they pay the most confident. Confidence doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from owning your voice, your story, your space. When you own your voice, you stop trying to impress and start trying to impact. You stop performing and start transforming. That's when your voice becomes a magnet for opportunity. That's when doors open. That's when influence multiplies, because people don't just buy products. They buy passion, they buy presence, they buy energy. And your voice is the carrier of that energy, so you must train your voice like an athlete trains their body. You must study communication, not to manipulate, but to move people. You must understand tone, pacing, silence, and emphasis. Because great speakers don't just say things, they craft moments, they create emotional shifts. They take the listener on a journey, and that journey builds connection, and connection builds trust, and trust builds wealth. Because where there is trust, there is transaction. You have a story that no one else has. A story that carries scars, victories, lessons, and miracles. But that story only becomes a seed when it is spoken. Until you speak it, it remains buried. But when you release it, it starts to bear fruit. Not just for you, but for others. That's why I say your voice is your wealth. Not just because it sells products, but because it plants possibility. It shifts paradigms, it opens hearts, and it creates legacy. The words you speak today could echo in the lives of thousands tomorrow. That's the power of your voice when it is used with intention. Most people think they need a platform to speak. But the truth is, when you speak with power, you become the platform. The stage is not the microphone. The stage is your mouth. Every conversation is an opportunity. Every interaction is an invitation to make an impression. That's why the wealthiest people are not always the ones with the most knowledge, but the ones with the most expression. They learned how to say it so people feel it. And when people feel it, they move. They act, they buy, they share, they believe. Too many people wait to be discovered when they should be declaring. Your voice is not waiting for permission. It's waiting for you to stop hiding. It's waiting for you to stop doubting. It's waiting for you to believe in what's already inside you. Because the moment you open your mouth in alignment with your mission, the universe responds, people respond, opportunities respond. That's how wealth begins, not with silence, but with speech. Not with perfection, but with presence. And not with strategy alone, but with soul. What's the difference between someone who stays broke and someone who builds wealth with their voice? It's not talent. It's not timing, it's belief, it's preparation, it's mastery. The person who builds wealth through their voice understands that every word they say is an investment. Every sentence is a seed. They're not just talking to talk. They're talking to transform. And they've practiced, refined, and elevated their voice to the point that it no longer sounds like everyone else's. It sounds like truth. It sounds like clarity. It sounds like legacy in motion. The wealth you want is hidden in the words you haven't said yet. The impact you seek is waiting behind the message you've been too scared to share. But the moment you step into your full expression and speak like it matters, everything changes. Because in the marketplace, the loudest is not always the richest, but the clearest often is. The ones who rise are the ones who articulate their value, communicate their offer, and activate emotion through words. Your voice is not just an instrument, it is an asset. It is a tool for scaling trust, for unlocking doors, for turning conversations into conversions and passion into profit. You cannot scale what you haven't spoken, and you cannot multiply what you haven't mastered. Most people want growth without the foundation. They want expansion without clarity. They want the results of scaling without understanding the systems, the strategy, and most importantly, the voice behind the message. Scaling is not about doing more, it's about saying more with less. It's about refining your message so well that it can travel without you. Your voice must become your system. It must become your salesman, your marketer, your connector, your representative. The wealthy do not chase time, they multiply presence. They've learned to scale through speech, through content, through courses, through communication that continues to work even when they're asleep. Your voice is your greatest asset when it comes to scaling. It is the one tool that cannot be stolen, outsourced, or replicated. Your story, your message, your method, it's all encoded in the way you speak. When you understand how to extract the essence of what you do and encode it into frameworks, formulas, and philosophies, then your voice becomes transferable. You move from being a one-person show to becoming a movement. And movements are scalable. Movements are magnetic. Movements are built on messages that people can repeat, remember, and rally behind. The process of scaling begins when you stop speaking like a technician and start speaking like a teacher, a leader, a visionary. If you want to scale your business, you must first scale your belief. You must believe that your voice is valuable enough to be heard by thousands, even millions. You must believe that your message is needed, not just locally, but globally. Scaling requires that you stop playing small with your voice and start building platforms that can carry it far. It requires consistency in how you communicate and clarity in what you stand for. Because if your message isn't clear, it won't spread. If your voice isn't consistent, it won't be trusted. Scaling is not just about reaching more people. It's about reaching the right people with the right message at the right time. Over and over again, the mistake many make is thinking that scaling is just about ads, automation, and funnels. Those things are important, but they are only as powerful as the message that flows through them. You can automate chaos. You can scale confusion. But if your voice isn't refined, your systems will simply magnify your mess. That's why your voice must be your first system. It must be tested, trained, and transformed into assets that carry your message without diluting its power. That's how you scale with integrity. That's how you scale with excellence. You build once, you speak with precision, and you let your voice create momentum. When you scale, you are essentially building duplication. You are multiplying your message into modules, multiplying your presence into platforms, multiplying your influence into impact. You are turning your voice into video, your ideas into intellectual property, your stories into curriculum, and that takes discipline, that takes strategic repetition, that takes the willingness to stop winging it and start architecting it. Scaling is for those who are tired of being busy and ready to be effective, for those who want to move from hustle to harvest, from grind to growth, from trading time for dollars to building assets that compound over time. Your voice becomes a legacy when it is documented, duplicated, and distributed. Think about the most impactful leaders, the most enduring movements, the most profitable businesses. They are all built on voice. Someone had to speak it first. Someone had to say it enough times for it to stick. Someone had to encode the message so well that it could be repeated in different languages, different regions, different formats. If you want to scale, you must stop being the only messenger and start building message carriers. Your team, your tools, your technology, they must all speak the same language that you speak. That language must come from your voice, shaped into systems, repeated with precision. Most people think of scaling as an external process, but it is deeply internal. You cannot scale beyond the level of your self-concept. You cannot expand beyond the clarity of your message. You cannot multiply what you haven't mastered. That's why scaling is spiritual. It is reflective. It is about alignment. Your voice must be an extension of your essence, not just your expertise. Because when people hear you, they are not just listening to what you say. They are discerning who you are, and who you are must match what you offer. The more integrated your voice and your values, the more scalable your vision becomes. When your voice carries vision, people follow. They buy, they share, they build with you. They spread your message not because you paid them, but because it moved them. That is the highest level of scale. When people become evangelists of your voice, when they quote you, defend you, and teach others what they've learned from you, that kind of scale is not built in a week. It is built through repetition, excellence, and emotional resonance. It is built by saying the same core truths over and over again in fresh ways, to fresh ears, through fresh platforms. That's how your voice becomes immortal. That's how your business becomes unstoppable. The difference between a freelancer and a founder is scale. A freelancer speaks for today. A founder speaks for tomorrow. A freelancer sells time. A founder sells systems. A freelancer works in silence. A founder builds with voice. The moment you decide to scale, you move from reacting to creating. You move from surviving to stewarding. You begin to see that your voice was never meant to stay small. It was always meant to go global. But for that to happen, you must stop thinking of yourself as a person and start thinking of yourself as a platform. You are a brand. You are a messenger. You are a multiplier of ideas. Scaling is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming more visible to more people in more places with the same powerful message. It's about leveraging your voice so it lives in your videos, your books, your emails, your automation, your community. It's about being present even when you're not present. That's the power of voice. That's the power of clarity. That's the power of duplication. You are not scaling your time. You are scaling your touch. You are scaling your transformation. You are scaling your truth. When your voice is clear, systems become simple. When your voice is powerful, platforms become profitable. When your voice is aligned, scale becomes inevitable. The friction disappears. The resistance fades. The right people begin to show up. The doors begin to open. And the growth becomes exponential, not because you're doing more, but because your voice is doing more, because your message is moving faster than you ever could, because your words have taken root in the minds and hearts of people you haven't even met yet. That's the beauty of scaling through voice. Your job is not just to speak. It is to encode your message into every layer of your business, into your brand voice, your client experience, your onboarding, your marketing, your content. Everything must echo the same truth, the same tone, the same energy. When that happens, scale is no longer stressful. It becomes smooth. It becomes sustainable, because you've built a system that works even when you don't. That's the ultimate wealth. That's the power of voice-driven scale. And it's available to anyone who dares to stop speaking small and start building big with their words. Most people underestimate the compound power of consistent communication. They think success comes from one big moment, one viral video, one powerful pitch. But those who truly build lasting wealth understand that greatness is built in the repetition. It's built in saying your message over and over again until the world not only hears it, but starts repeating it back to you. Your voice, when used with discipline, becomes a drumbeat that keeps your business marching forward. It becomes the melody that makes your brand unforgettable. It becomes the rhythm that aligns your audience with your movement. And when your voice becomes rhythmic and recognizable, it becomes revenue generating. Not because you're loud, but because your consistent consistency is credibility. Every time you show up and speak the same message with the same energy, you build trust. Every time your voice delivers value without fail, you become known. And people don't buy from strangers. They buy from the familiar. They buy from those who have been showing up even when there were no likes, no applause, no validation. Your consistency speaks even louder than your words. It tells the marketplace that you are reliable. It tells your audience that your message can be trusted. It tells your future clients that they can depend on you. Because if you can keep showing up with your voice in seasons of silence, you will be trusted to show up when it matters most. Most people want to scale quickly, but they are not willing to speak consistently. They want results that they haven't earned in repetition. You cannot build momentum without message mastery. You cannot build trust without talk. And you cannot build wealth without the discipline of daily delivery. Whether it's a live video, an email, a conversation, a stage talk, or a podcast appearance, every time you speak, you are adding bricks to your business. Every time you articulate your message, you are shaping the perception of your brand. Every time you repeat your core values through your voice, you are attracting people who resonate with your frequency. Your voice is not just for promotion, it's for positioning. It's how you position yourself as a thought leader, a problem solver, a trusted advisor. When you speak consistently, people begin to assign identity to your sound. They associate you with solutions. They remember your frameworks. They quote your phrases. They begin to expect your voice in their daily lives. That's how brand loyalty is born, not in one-time transactions, but in ongoing transformation. And transformation happens through repeated exposure to truth. The more consistently your voice shows up, the more likely your message is to penetrate the noise and plant itself in someone's heart and mind. Consistency also refines clarity. The more you speak, the more you realize what works. The more feedback you get, the more accurate your messaging becomes. Repetition is the mother of refinement. Great communicators are not born. They are forged in the fire of feedback and repetition. They are sculpted through 1,000 spoken words, 1,000 missed moments, and 1,000 small course corrections. And those small corrections, over time, create a massive message that moves markets. Every time you open your mouth, you're either sharpening your sword or dulling your edge. And the only way to sharpen is to speak often, review honestly, and refine relentlessly. The marketplace rewards those who can communicate value clearly, confidently, and consistently. The reason some people blow up seemingly overnight is because they've been speaking in silence for years. They've been mastering their message long before the world applauded. They've been building a foundation of words, truth, and clarity beneath the surface. So when the spotlight finally found them, they didn't crumble. They converted. They didn't fumble. They flourished because they had been preparing, practicing, and perfecting their voice in private. When you speak consistently, you create readiness. And readiness is the seed of rapid growth. The more prepared your message, the more potent your momentum. Consistency is also how you scale trust. And trust is the most valuable currency in the digital age. People don't just want to buy. They want to believe. They want to believe that you mean what you say. They want to believe that you care. They want to believe that your voice carries truth. And belief is not built in bursts. It's built in rhythm. Your voice has to become a part of their pattern, a part of their playlist, a part of their process. When that happens, your business stops being optional. It becomes essential. Because your voice is not just providing information, it's providing transformation wrapped in reliability. Many entrepreneurs spend more time planning than they do speaking. They perfect logos, websites, and back-end systems, but they neglect the daily discipline of using their voice. Your voice is your most powerful tool, and yet it's often the most underutilized. Every day that you choose silence over speech is a day you delay your scale. Every moment you hide your voice is a moment you forfeit influence. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a clear message spoken consistently, because consistent communication beats sporadic brilliance every time. The world is not moved by what you plan to say. It is moved by what you continue to say with power and persistence. Your voice is also a mirror. The way you speak reflects what you believe. If you speak with hesitation, your belief is incomplete. If you speak with doubt, your conviction is leaking. But when you speak with authority, clarity, and passion, it shows that you are aligned. That alignment creates authority, and authority is what converts attention into action. Your voice is not just being heard, it is being read. People read your energy, they read your certainty, they read your alignment. And the more consistent you are in communicating from a place of wholeness, the more magnetic your message becomes. One of the most powerful things your voice can do is create culture. When your team hears you speak the vision repeatedly, they adopt it. When your clients hear the same principles reinforced, they embody them. When your audience sees your voice echoing through every channel with the same tone, the same language, and the same energy, they know they can trust the experience. That's how you create loyalty. That's how you create community. That's how you create scale. Not by saying different things every day, but by saying the right things every day until they become the cultural code of your brand. You don't need to be everywhere. You just need to be everywhere your voice can reach. Scaling your business doesn't always mean scaling your presence. It means scaling your message. It means speaking in such a way that your voice lives beyond you, that people can hear you even when you're not in the room, that they can repeat your frameworks even if they've only heard them once, that they can share your story even if they've never met you. That kind of scale starts with consistent speaking, with daily declarations, with disciplined delivery, with treating your voice like the valuable asset it truly is.